Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast on the category of ancient wisdom demystified. Last week, we talked about the origins of mythology, and today's episode, we are going to cover modern mythologies. So, Tata,
Yes, dear.
what is the period we're looking at? What is the modern mythology?
Yeah, basically what we consider as modern and postmodern mythologies, I would say start around the first millennium, that is about 1000 AD. Before that, we had the Greek and the Roman and other mythologies, which are I would categorize as ancient mythologies. So this period after 1000 AD, when literature became more available and also the printing press came. So these are the things which really made the modern mythologies come out and be available to people. Yeah.
What is the purpose of having myths in a time like this in the scientific age? Tata?
Yeah. See, always there is a gap between concepts and knowledge, human knowledge. Concepts are getting advanced quite a bit because of new discoveries in the scientific era. But to explain it to common people from a full dimension of whatever we need to understand, it's very difficult to have a theoretical framework.
Interesting.
It's like trying to make people understand a highly mathematical construct, but people who do not have this type of knowledge, it will go waste.
Okay.
So you give a form. Every mythology had this basic understanding. You give it a form of a story which, though appears to be literally a story, contains certain deep meaning.
Okay.
And you will see it in some of the examples which we'll be taking up now.
Nice, Tata.
Yeah.
So, do you have any examples of these stories?
Yeah, quite a lot of stories. Let's start with maybe King Arthur,
Okay.
the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
Now, I think I will take just three symbols which are there. One is the number of knights, 12.
12 knights.
12 apostles, 12 knights. Why? Because people have had an astronomical connection and people wanted to connect up on a more holistic way to the astronomical science. So 12 supposed to be very auspicious and a good number because you have got 12 zodiacs.
Yeah.
So King Arthur also the round table had 12 knights basically. Of course, in different versions there are different type of number of people, but this is basically the 12 is very important. Second, he come to the sword Excalibur. Now, this particular sword was buried in a very heavy stone, and it was deemed that whoever could draw it out will become the king. And Arthur, as a young boy, or rather as a young adult, he is able to take out the sword from the stone. And finally, before he dies, he returns the sword to the river, not the stone, the river, where the lady of truth, the lady of the sword, catches it and goes inside. The idea is this one: stone symbolizes calcified, fossilized consciousness. Because it's not easy to break. But water is supposed to be the flowing consciousness, the universal consciousness. We get water in all mythologies, water as the creation from which everything came. So this particular type of understanding of the sword being in the stone and sword being returned to water is King Arthur claiming to be the true spiritual leader of the people. And then we have the third symbol, which is very powerful in the King Arthur's tale. You see, the knights go out in search of the Grail, Holy Grail.
Holy Grail.
Now, when they are going out, they are given instruction. And the instruction is that each of you take your own path. Do not take a path which is already laid. It's a very deep truth because a given truth may not be right. A given belief system may not be right. So, you have to follow your own path, how your mind is leading you, how it is leading you into the forest towards the Grail Castle. Now, Grail Castle is a place where, Percival, one of the
Yeah,
knights,
yeah, yeah.
he finds and he goes there. He is able to go to the place where the Grail is. But he looks at the king, Grail king, and the Grail king is very sick.
Hmm.
And all that he had to do was ask a question to the Grail king. But he forgot about asking a question and all that. But he wanted to look at or get the Grail. That was his whole aim. So this signifies that unless you are cured, the king is cured. By saying that particular whatever reply to the king will be cured and he will reveal the Grail.
Hmm.
But Percival, in his enthusiasm, doesn't ask any questions,
Okay.
and the Grail king remains sick. This means your own personal sickness in spirituality. If you are not healed, you cannot get the truth.
Interesting.
Yeah, these are symbols which are there in the story. So there are other stories which you can, look at. For example, today we have modern myths in cinema,
Hmm.
which is a very common medium. So let's take about maybe 2-3 examples. The Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
You have seen the.
Yeah.
So it's a series of movies which came out. Basically, a book written by C.S. Lewis.
Hmm.
And Lewis was a very great and very devout Christian.
Hmm.
So the whole symbol of Narnia, when the children go through the Almera,
The wardrobe, yeah.
the wardrobe, into the new place,
The
it is the
Narnia.
Eden.
Okay.
It is like Garden of Eden, all fantasy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there you find a lot of characters which have got powers. But this particular domain is ruled by the White Witch.
Yeah.
So this whole picture is about, the whole story is about how the White Witch is vanquished, conquered by Prince Aslan.
Hmm.
And that is the symbol of the lion,
Yes. Yes.
which is the symbol of Jesus Christ and God.
Hmm.
So redemption of the individual comes through a intervention of God when you are really looking for it.
Hmm.
When you want to conquer the evil. That's the meaning of that particular movie.
I never thought of it that
Yeah,
way.
yes. It's very difficult because normally we don't think about it from that particular perspective. So this is the thing. Then we have the Matrix series.
Matrix, yeah.
Yeah. That is about reality.
Hmm.
So are we living in a reality which we think is real? No. So that's the whole, series of Matrix symbolizes how Neo, who does the programming of the whole software, is caught up inside the software and is not able to escape, though Morpheus gives him the two pills to choose.
Yeah.
Do you want to remain in this reality or you really want to go down the rabbit hole to the absolute reality? So this is another, a deep concept within that particular type of movie. Then you have Avatar. Avatar, we have seen the first one. That is about a consciousness which is much more higher.
Fully connected world.
Fully connected. The Navi, people of Navi in Pandora, they are people who have got very high level of consciousness. They are connecting to trees. You can see that particular movie. And they're connecting to animals, connecting to birds, which we cannot do as a human being. So the human beings at least get defeated because of their lower purpose, greediness of mining something from that particular planet. So all these movies are symbols where give you a much great truth. And we have got other movies which come, almost all the movies like Inception and all that, about the dream world. It's also a very deep, mythology of how one can travel into the dream world, which is actually the psychology of Carl Jung, where he says everything that comes in the dream world is an archetype, which tells you what's wrong with you, what's wrong with your psyche. Anyhow, that's another subject. Let's not go into that particular thing. So these are the things that we have as modern myths. Every medium today, whether it be films or TV, episodes, all these are trying to, most of them, not all of them I would say, but most of them are trying to give you some deeper meaning so that you can understand concepts which you are not able to understand purely by your own self. Yeah, I think this is a good, discussion today. Quite an eye-opener today, yes. So with this, we will conclude this episode.
Yes.
Next, we will see the episode of Enuma Elish, because that is the first creation myth that was written. So we will do that so that you get a little more idea about how myths really started giving you deeper meanings.
Nice.
Okay, so that's nice. Thank you very much. We will see you next week again.
See you.